I've said it before on this channel, and I'll say it again here. Dwarves are my favourite fantasy race. I have a couple of ideas after I finish my Erebor champions on Goat. One of them was to convert the champions of the ill-fated Moria expedition. Following their success of re-establishing the Kingdom of Erebor, Balin took a few chums from Thorin's company and led a force to delve into the depths of Moria to reclaim it for the dwarven kind once more. After some initial success, it didn't quite go to plan. They were torn to pieces by the Balrog, the Watcher, and all of the orcs. It culminated in an epic last stand. Now, the Moria Expedition Force is a strange beast in MESBG. It's kind of tagged on to the Khazad-dûm list, allowing you to take Balin and some of the champions of Erebor. These models are available, but somehow they don't seem correct. It seems odd that they wouldn't change in the time in between the Erebor campaign and the Moria campaign. There are many suitable Moria Expedition 3D print proxies available, but we're kitbashers in these parts, so I bashed my own, and here I am to show you how I did it. I'm Joe from Windish Wargamers, and here's how I made my Moria Expeditionary Force. Let's start with the Lord of Moria himself, Balin. I had a spare Balin from the Thorin's company sprue, so I snipped him off and started work. I began by sawing off his head, closely followed by his feet. You see, Balin from the films has these pointy-toed boots. I can't explain it, but they're just synonymous with Balin to me. And they're a feature that are present in both the Thorin's company and Champions of Erebor model. The Balin profile from the Moria expedition has heavy armour, so I use this old metal dwarf banner bearer as a base. The head, banner, and the legs had all been removed previously. The feet lined up pretty well, so all I had to do was blend them with some green stuff. And of course, blending between the two beards with some green stuff again. Balin's profile here carries Durin's axe. So, replacing where the banner was, I fixed the double-headed axe head, resting over his shoulder. The last touch for Balin was to sculpt some fur that was draped over his shoulders. This was to cover the damage caused by removing the banner on the base model, and it also gives an air of decadence and status. This will show that he's not just a tag-along, he's commanding the expedition force. For the paint scheme, gold plate armour was used to match the existing Khazad-dûm force I have. I wanted to include a red cloak. This was to marry the look from the films with the scarlet robe, and also his hood from the book. It's important to note here all of the bases are covered in snow to represent the peak of Ziraxagil. With the Lord of Moria finished, he would need a chronicler, namely Ori the Dwarf, Champion of Erebor. It's hotly speculated online that this unfortunate soul from the films is indeed our friend Ori. Although I'm not convinced it's completely concrete, I'll use this guy as inspiration. I snipped Ori from the sprue and removed his head. For the body, I chose the Dwarven Reclaimers kit from Unreleased Miniatures. The torso also has a much longer beard attached than we previously see with the Ori miniatures. This would help match the skeleton, but also show the progression of time. A feature that is both emblematic of the profile and of the skeleton is the book that Gandalf is seen reading here. So to show that, I wanted to depict him with the book. For this, I used the Grey Knight's book from the 40k range. This was massive, so I had to saw it in half. I needed a place for it to sit on the model, so I removed the backpack and glued it in place. This way, it looked like the leather straps were holding the book on his back. The tunic would be really nice to bring in some colour, but I wanted to introduce some heavier armour. For this, I reached for the arms of some Grimhammers. I went for a one-handed grip, as if he's gesturing forward. This was to capture the optimism that we see Ori have when he's younger. The hammerhead was removed and the axe head from the Khazad-dûm Dwarf Warriors kit was pinned in place to ensure it wouldn't fall off. This was because the connection point was going to be really minuscule. With one hand holding the axe, it meant the left hand could be used for some fun details. Ravens seem to be symbolic of the Dwarven people in Tolkien's Legendarium. One is included in the Dwarven Reclaimer set, so I glued it perched on his wrist. In my mind, he's not just a chronicler, but his role could be a messenger of some kind, with the raven being used to send important instructions and communications, like we see here when it reaches for Dane Ironfoot in the films. For the paint job, I employed a dark grey cloak. This was to match the colour of Ori's clothes in the film trilogy. Grey can be a bit dull though, so I wanted to brighten things up, so I used a teal for his tunic. A reddish brown was used on the leather, that was to contrast the teal used earlier. Deviating from gold and silver, I chose a brass colour for his armour. And with that, Ori the Chronicler was complete. And I would have to move on to the old sage, Oin, Champion of Erebor. Much like the others, his head was removed and attached to a Dwarven Reclaimer's body. The only change this time around was to ensure that his very impressive beard came along with it, because the less sculpting I have to do, the better. Oin, Champion of Erebor, is armed with a sword and shield. As I had employed Orcrist for my Goat Rider conversion of Thorin, his alternate sword was spare, and it would be a shame to waste such a beautiful Dwarven crafted blade. That right arm was glued in place after tidying up. The oaken shield was then snipped away, and it was replaced with a shield from the Dwarven Reclaimer set. The last detail was the ear horn. In the films, Oin is deaf as a post and needs an ear horn. Not sure exactly what this is, but I used this detail from the Rambuck Raiders kit from Fireforge Games. It's a lot bigger than the old ear horn, but I guess this can show that he's become even more hard of hearing in his old age. And here is the old geezer all finished up. Due to the familial connection between Gimli, Oin being Gimli's uncle of course, I went for a burgundy colour on his tunic, with brass and silver for the armour. I wanted a colour to pop against the dark burgundy, so I chose a bright blue. Speaking of his nephew Gimli, let's move on now to Gimli, son of Gloin. This one was more of a salvage job for me, as a child I had the old metal Gimli with the cloak and I managed to absolutely mangle it. I pushed green stuff where it shouldn't belong, I obscured details, and I even sliced away a lot of the details. So most of the work here was just removing some of that green stuff to free up some of the detail. A lot of the actual detail had been scraped away by myself, so I tried to make that up with the paint job. The only real conversion element was some fur draped over his shoulders. This was to break up the silhouette from the normal Gimli miniatures, and also it makes sense if he's in a colder climate. I had two remaining dwarf reclaimers, so they were just painted up in the green and gold of my Khazad-dûm dwarves. Here they are, all finished up. I like how they came out. I was able to breathe new life into models that might have been overlooked before, and get to play a whole new spin on my existing army. The different colours I employed will allow the characters to stand out from the rank and file troops on the battlefield, and they'll all feel really unique. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Also, if you've had a crack at making a Moria expedition force in the past, please tell me how they came out. I do take inspiration from the comments section, so if you'd like to see me tackle another conversion, let me know below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Most people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more content. Search through our back catalogue to watch videos on a variety of Middle-earth SBG and Warhammer topics. I've been Joe from Windrush Wargamers. Thank you so much for watching, and with any luck, I'll catch you in the next one.